at least 180 billion naira to increase oil palm production. A very warm regards to you, my viewers. I'm delighted to having you join me again for another interesting episode of our discussion as far as agro-real estate is concerned. I still remain Emmanuel Binaka, consultant of agriculture, specifically soil science and land management. Delighted to be affiliated with the Silvawell Limited, a company which I always say has a foresight into looking at what the future demand of the real estate by way of them integrating agriculture into the real estate business, which is popularly referred to as the agro-real estate. A lot have been said, a lot have been discussed before now as far as this real estate is concerned and as far as the oil palm cultivation is also concerned. Do well to subscribe to our social media platforms and YouTube channels so that you can have access to all of the discussions we've had. These discussions will benefit you in making your informed decision. Quickly, in this episode, we are going to be briefly discussing agricultural policy in Nigeria that relates to oil palm cultivation. No doubt, the policies of any country directly affect every sector of that country, including the agricultural sector. Policies of government, in one way or the other, affect every sector that is domiciled in that country. Over the years, the Nigeria government has come up with several policies geared towards improving the agricultural sector as a whole. And they've done this by way of strengthening some key institutions in the country, such as the financial institutions, especially agro-based financial institutions. Policies to strengthen these institutions by way of giving out loans at low interest rates to farmers to develop crops of interest like the oil palm as a case study. Policies to strengthen institutions like Agricultural Development Project or programs, the ADPs, programs like the River Basin Development Authority, the ROBDA. So policies geared towards strengthening all of these programs. They've also come up with several policies to strengthen research organizations. Research organizations like NIFOR, the Nigerian Institute for Oil Palm Research. Policies have also been made to strengthen research, looking at a better way of doing things or go about things with a view of increasing productivity. First, to be able to attend or satisfy the growing population in the country, and also by way of diversification of investment. Policies have also been made by government as they relate to security, because we know that security is key in all of these operations. In recent times, we've had incidents of insecurity. When all of these things happen, the agricultural sector is also affected. And so government have come up with several policies over time, several fora where these policies is geared towards providing security for a peaceful atmosphere environment where agriculture can thrive. However, the political instability in the country makes some of these policies unproductive. Of course, change in government, where successive government wants to come up with their own policy when they know that some of these policies initiated or introduced by their predecessor is best, they will rather want to come up with their own policy. So the problem of political instability makes some of these policies unproductive. Narrowing this to the oil palm estate sector, let me put it here that Nigeria, as I said in one of our broadcasts, that Nigeria ranks third in the world in terms of land area planted with oil palm. And the third place when it comes to the land area that is planted with oil palm. But the country ranked fifth largest palm oil producer, and this is due to low yield. And this low yield is as a result of some factors such as climate limitations, because we haven't fully adopted all the approach or methods that we have discussed before now that can help to mitigate the effect of climate change. We've not adopted the sustainable and best management practices that we have discussed in series of our discussions that will help to enhance productivity. And all of these have been fully discussed. And when these sustainable best management practices are adopted, we will be able to mitigate the adverse effects of climate change, and by this we improve on our yield. Other factors that lead to this low yield is infrastructural limitations. Like I said in one of our broadcasts, that the method adopted in the processing of our oil palm is crude in most places, and this does not fully maximize what we get from our production process. And so infrastructural limitations and also smallholder approach to production. So you will discover that a bulk of palm oil available for consumption in our country is produced majorly by smallholder. And this again is an area that the policy of government can also affect. Having said that, let's now look at some government policies that are geared towards developing the oil palm industry. What are some of the government policies over the years that have been put in place for the development of the oil palm industry? Number one, in 2015, the Central Bank of Nigeria excluded 41 items from being procured with foreign exchange, and these included palm kernel and palm oil. This was one of the policies put in place by the Apex Financial Regulatory Body, the Central Bank of Nigeria, put in place to enhance the productivity and yield of oil palm cultivation and production. And they did this by excluding 41 items, including palm kernel and palm oil, from being procured with foreign exchange. Again, in 2019, the Apex Bank, Central Bank of Nigeria, also began partnership with state governments to stimulate investment in oil palm plantations. So a case study like where the Silvawell Limited domicile, Edo State, for example, the government of the state keyed into this policy of government in the area of provision of expanse of land cultivated with oil palm. This is to boost production and to increase yield. So this was also the policy of government to stimulate investment in the oil palm plantation. Now, the Nigeria government also planned the investment of at least 180 billion naira to increase oil palm production from around 600,000 tons to 5 million tons a year by 2027. So with the planned investment of huge capital into the oil palm industry, there is a focus that by 2027, there will be an increase to up to 5 million tons of palm oil production. Because right now, as we speak in the country, the local production of our oil palm or palm oil has not been able to meet the domestic demand. As we speak, we've had over $500 million importation of palm oil to this country. And so that shows to us that even what we produced have not been able to meet with local demand. This may be an issue in terms of policy in the corridors of government. But again, this is an opportunity to every investor that in the Nigeria economy, we haven't been able to meet up with production as far as oil palm cultivation is concerned. We've not been able to meet up with the required production that will be able to sustain our domestic demand. This is an opportunity. This means that there is an opening for more and other investment or investors to come in, knowing full well that there is a high demand for product that result from the cultivation of the oil palm. So as it stands currently, the country still import oil palm produce because most of the locally produced oil palm that is there for local consumption has not been able to meet up with domestic demand. Now, talking about government policy, the Nigerian government, through their policy, has also encouraged the construction of oil mills in every aspect of this nation, Nigeria. And that, again, is a policy geared towards developing the oil palm industry. Again, the government have also come up with policy that encourage banks to lend to small farmers at low interest rates. Policies that have mandated our financial institutions, be it our agro-based and non-agro-based financial institutions, to give loans to small holders, small farmers at a very low interest rate. All of these are put in place to ensure that there is a rapid development of the oil palm industry to meet up with local demand first, and then to be able to diversify the nation's economy. Now, other policies have been put in place. For example, policies of government have also been put in place by way of erecting barriers on crude palm oil importation. Now, this, of course, is done to develop our local capacity, our local production, because it is very clear that the more importation is encouraged, the more we destroy our local production. The country has this policy that creates barrier on crude palm oil importation. This is in a way to increase local production. So all of these policies have been put in place to favor the development of oil palm cultivation in the country. Let me conclude by saying that the Nigeria government policies, in summary, favors the cultivation of oil palm. As a matter of fact, because of the shortage in local production to meet up with local demand, there are even policies that are geared towards entertaining or welcoming more investment into this sector so that the local demand can be met, and also to a point where there can be massive export of oil palm crude to other countries as a way of getting foreign exchange. So in a nutshell, the policy put in place by the government is strongly in favor of the cultivation of oil palm in the country. Most of these policies that has encouraged state governors to adopt this has helped in so many states where you have many state governments adopting these policies by way of providing land for investors to thrive in. So I want to believe that my viewers out there are well abreast with some of these policies of government. They are well abreast with the fact that the nation's policy favors the cultivation of oil palm. Subscribe to our social media platforms or handles and also our YouTube channel to have all the necessary information on this topic and all that information you need to know about this company, Silvawell Limited. They are real estate which has been integrated with agriculture. The available plots, the location, and everything, information that you will need to know about them. On this note, I want to say thank you for joining me in this episode. Stay blessed.